Hi guys, this is Anmol Talwar and welcome back to another video with Talent Catalyst AI, where we strive to give you industry-specific artificial intelligence knowledge which will surely help you grow in your career ahead. With a work experience of over 7 years, I have handled projects related to natural language processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and generative AI across industries such as banking, pharmaceutical, financial, as well as marketing technology. So, let the learning begin. Topic for today's discussion is the difference between traditional AI and generative AI. Traditional AI was the AI that we used to use before the advent of generative AI. So, in this particular video, we'll be discussing what exactly is traditional AI. We'll try to define traditional AI and the use cases for traditional AI. Then we'll be delving into what is generative AI and the use cases for generative AI. And then we'll try to contest the two. We'll try to have the differences defined between these two different type of artificial intelligence. Coming to the first one, that is traditional AI. Traditional AI is also known as narrow or weak AI because it focuses on performing only specific tasks that are being programmed by the machine learning engineer for it to perform. That is why it's known as traditional or narrow or weak AI, right? To understand it better, what we'll do is we'll choose a use case. So some of the popular use cases for traditional AI are classification, be it binary, be it multi-class or multi-label. Then we have recommendation systems, we have virtual assistants, and we have gamings. So coming to the classification, let's take an example where we are doing a binary classification of email spams. Email that we have in our inboxes, whether those emails are spam emails or non-spam emails. So what we as a programmer are trying to do is we are trying to define a problem statement that this particular machine learning model, which will do the binary classification of all the emails in the inbox based on the historical data, trying to learn all the patterns in the data, it will try to classify the emails in the future as spam or non-spam. That is a specific task that has been assigned for that particular machine learning model. It will not go anywhere beyond that. That is the scope of that particular model, and it will perform only that particular task which it has been trained for by the programmer. This is what exactly is the meaning of traditional AI. It typically operates in a deterministic manner. So the deterministic manner is we want it to predict if the email is spam or not. That is the deterministic manner. It will not go beyond the scope. So following explicit rules and instructions set by the human programmer or the ML engineer or the data scientist, right? These systems have the capability to learn from the data and make decisions or predictions based on the structured data. So as we saw in this binary classification example, it will learn on the patterns of the data, and it will try to predict or do the use case that it has been designed to do, right? It is like a master strategist who can make smart decisions with specific set of rules. So every machine learning model or recommendation system or a virtual assistant or gaming platforms which work on reinforcement learning, they work on specific rule set. So summarizing it, models or AI that works on recognizing patterns from the historical data and is designed to do a specific task, and it will not go beyond that particular task or the set of rules by which it has been defined by the programmer who has designed it or the machine learning engineer who has designed it. That is called a traditional AI. So now let's try to understand what is generative AI. Generative AI is the next generation of artificial intelligence, which is also called as creative or strong AI. The name creative or strong AI is apt because it is a form of AI that can create something new. It can generate, as the name says, generative AI, it can generate something new. That new can be anything, any content, that can be images, music, audio, video, synthetic data, and even computer code. So what happens is, as we discussed, traditional AI learns from the past data, historical data. It recognizes the patterns and then tries to do its job with certain rules that have been defined by the programmer. Generative AI also learns on the previous data's patterns, historical data's pattern, but it tries to generate new patterns, generate new content. That content, as we discussed, can be anything from images, music, videos, audio, and computer codes as well. So some of the popular use cases that you might have seen generative AI perform is text generation, text summarization, image generation. So you see, it is generating new things. When you talk about a chatbot, you ask a question, the answer is a text generation. It generates a text that is in a form of answer, right? Image generation, we have video synthesis, we have document Q&A. You ask questions related to a document, it will give you an answer. That is another form of generation. Conversational AI, the chatbot that we talked about. Code generation, you just give a prompt that you want a code for this particular problem, it will give you a code with respect to any language. That is another form of generation. Drug discovery, music composition. So generative AI is used for generating. That's a part of AI that is used for generating stuff based on historical patterns that it has learned from the training data. Now let's try to contest these two, traditional versus generative AI, based on all the knowledge that we have gathered till now, right? The first point of difference is data driven versus rule based driven. So as we already discussed, traditional AI is rule based, whereas generative AI is more data driven approach, follows a more data driven approach wherein it learns patterns and structures from large data sets and trains it using primarily machine learning and deep learning models. Coming to traditional AI, that is more rule based. For example, if we talk about gamings, which works on reinforcement learning, that is rule based systems. Let's say if a game says that a user will only win after earning certain, let's say 10 points in that particular game. This is a rule based system which has been defined by the programmer specifically. That is what is called as traditional AI or rule based systems, right? Coming to the second point of difference, that is supervised versus unsupervised learning. Traditional AI is primarily trained on supervised learning methodologies, and generative AI follows both supervised and unsupervised learning, but it excels in unsupervised learning, right? Coming to the third point, discriminative versus generative models. So what is exactly discriminative models? So discriminative models are the models which need a target variable. That is, they are always supervised learning algorithms and they focus on decision boundaries. Let's say there is a classification task, right? We have to classify two categories, that is category A and category B. Category A is circles and category B is X's. This is the decision boundary. This is what traditional AI models focus on, that is decision boundary, and they have to be supervised. They have to have a target variable assigned to them and they need a lot of data to train as well. This is what discriminative models mean. So essentially traditional AI works on discriminatory models, for instance classification models, which we just saw for decision boundaries, and generative models, since we know it, the work or the primary task of generative AI models is to generate something new based on the historical data that they have learned from. They are based on generative models, right? Then the next point of differentiation is creativity. We all know that since traditional AI works on rule based systems, so it lacks creativity, whereas generative AI models, they are high in creativity because their primary task is to generate new and novel creations out of the patterns that they have learned in the past. So they are highly creative. Coming to the last point of difference, that is adaptability. Traditional AI lacks adaptability, whereas generative AI is highly adaptive, right? That is obvious. So summarizing our whole discussion, traditional AI systems are primarily used to analyze and make predictions, while generative AI goes a step further by creating new similar data to its training data. That we discussed, traditional AI is used to primarily analyze the patterns and make predictions out of that, but generative AI goes a step further to create new data out of what it has learned from, right? In other words, traditional AI excels at pattern recognition, but generative AI excels at pattern creation, right? Based on the historical data or training data that it has been trained on. Traditional AI can analyze data and tell you what it sees, but generative AI uses the same data. See, both have the same thing. They are being trained on historical data, but one sees or recognizes the patterns and we use it for certain tasks such as reinforcement learning, we use it for classification or rule-based tasks, but the other one, on the same data, it tries to create something new based on that particular data, like text creation, audio creation, video creation, code generation, right? Both generative AI and traditional AI complement each other, contributing to a more robust and versatile AI ecosystem. So we have a whole AI ecosystem superset, of which these two are the branches, that is traditional AI and generative AI. Both of them have a separate task base and none of them is superior to the other one. Both have their own tasks. One has rule based tasks, that is classification, reinforcement learning, gaming, virtual assistants. The other one has the task of content creation, novel creative content creation. So both of them, with their respective strengths and weaknesses, these branches will undoubtedly shape the future of technology and redefine human interactions. So this is the overall differentiation between what is traditional versus generative AI. Please do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more such informative videos related to artificial intelligence. Thank you.